The flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we do roll call, I wanted to introduce Elena Valeriano. She's our business and development community specialist. And she's got a new role here at the IDA. So welcome, Elena, and all look forward to working.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the roll call. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes,
Albrecht.
Here.
Badlow.
Here.
Day.
Here.
Gurecki.
Here.
Garano. Warrenzak.
Here.
Bono.
Here. Thank you. Our mission statement, Aaron, you want to read it first, please?
The mission of the Herkimer County Industrial Development Agency is to deliver economic incentives to businesses and industries, diversify and strengthen Herkimer County's tax base, and enhance community vitality by supporting job creation, housing, business, and industrial development and community revitalization. We strive to develop the local economy in an organized, sustainable, and environmentally beneficial manner.
Okay, thank you very much. Item number 4 is the minutes. They're on pages 1 through 4. Are there any deletions, corrections, deletions, make any statements? Okay, I'll need a motion to accept those. Motion by Ann and second by Mike. Any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay. Carried. Item 5 are the similar financial reports on pages 5 through 13. Any comments on that? Dan, you want to?
Sure, everybody's paid up to date with all of our outstanding loans, and I think we only have 2 left anyways. Fees have been coming in. We have a couple of grants that will be getting some administration fees in here too. So everything's looking very positive for the year 2024. We're very excited. We have a lot of good projects on the horizon.
Any comments, questions, concerns?
Well, one other thing too is National Grid. We've fronted some economic development money in the Schuyler Business Park for, I believe it was for the Home Depot last mile area of $127,000, and we received the economic development incentive check back from National Grid. That was a good time. They paid pretty good.
For the new year, looking good. All right. Any comments? Okay, need a motion to accept the financials for December. Lori, second. Lana, any discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay. Carried. Item number 6, the 2024 budget amendment is on page 14, John.
So we had to make a change due to increased payroll expenses. You can see that outlined on 14. We also readjusted our IDA project admin fees and application fees to cover that cost. Myself and Victoria sat down and reviewed what we anticipated in this year and what we expected in this year, and we were able to raise that up, and so that gets us pretty close to be.
We need a motion to accept that, or any question first? Entertain a motion. Tim, second. Lori, discussion. All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay. Item number 7, the marketing update. Aaron, what do you got for us?
So last week I sent out the newsletter. You should have all gotten it. If you didn't, let me know. You're all in it if you want to see a picture. Also last week, Elena and I went with the consultant, HRP, to do a phase 1 assessment. We just went and walked around the building. It was pretty gross upstairs. So there's a lot of pigeons.
It was on 210, 212 Main Street. It was the old mattress store. So on the second or the third floor window was open for a long time, and it seems as though a hawk made a home in there. Because there is lots of dead flying animals, and you know it's a hawk when they're dead.
Did not smell good. So we added a button on the top of our website for the LBC. I'm making a logo. It's in progress. So that's gonna go there instead. But it takes you to a different page, and for now, there's not really much on it, but it'll have a mission statement information. Then we went a couple weeks ago to 3 different brownfields in Little Falls, and I took pictures.
So there's a gentleman down in Little Falls that owns 3 structures along the canal. And he's interested in development down there, so we went down as well as we brought in a developer to help him, and then also we brought in just other people that had interest in how they could help develop that part of the Little Falls area. So one of the buildings you may notice mostly is over near the I can't think of the name of the brewery. Rock City, it's right near there, and all the windows are out of it, and it's near Solidity. So it was quite interesting to go through there. And the gentleman is very knowledgeable in all of the structures, as well as all of the different types of wood from the area and where it came from. So it was also a nice learning exercise for us as well. But I had him also go look at our barn on Russell Farm, and he said, unfortunately, it's not wood that's really worth much of anything.
From what I understand, they have a unique structure to it. And interior, the way it's built, correct? That's when but an individual who was interested in that had said that there was some assessment done previously, and that has a unique kind of interior, the way it's built.
There's no more interior per se. He's taken all the wood out of it. So all that's left is really what you see in that bottom left-hand corner of that building. The rest of them, one of them is the old Sunbelt Industries, where they made abrasives for like your nail files and polishing fiber optics, sandpaper, and then down the road is another structure that he uses for his storage. So the only real brownfield development one that we saw would be the one in the bottom left-hand corner, the one that you're referencing.
Yeah, it must be those columns, or I don't know.
No,
Okay.
it's not though. No. Yeah, that's what, no, it's, but on that was an old mill, and on the top is the one, which is a cool story too. The gentleman who owned that lived up on the hill in Little Falls, and on the top of this building is where the security guard sat. So at night, the gentleman who owned it would go out to watch to make sure the security guard would get up and go walk the building and come back. But that has a perfect layout for apartments. And realistically too, the bottom is all concrete. You could do indoor parking there. But one of the developers we brought there that day thought it would be great to tie it in with the Solidity building. We're gonna talk a little bit about that too, that structure. So, but very interesting. And the guy's from down on Long Island. And he sees great value in this Little Falls area as well.
We had Dave Warner go out and take some pictures of our business parks with all the snow. I updated them on our website. If you'd like to see them. That's it.
If you look closely, you can see the cross-country skiers.
Okay,
Oh,
let's go on to.
were they in? Where was their church? Wasn't that in there? I know the board, it was in the newsletter.
It's in the, yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, item number 8, our grant opportunities. Jen, you want to discuss those, like enterprise and housing stuff?
Yeah, so for the micro enterprise, we started marketing that grant program through social media and the Small Business Development Center. We are listed on their newsletter that goes out every week. At this time, we're assisting several businesses with the application process, but we don't have any currently ready to be reviewed. Still working on that. For the housing study
Can you
grant,
hold on a second
Sure.
for the micro? How much money do we have again there?
That's 300,000.
300,000. And what's the max usually we give out? Do you recall?
35,000. Yep, and that's with the addition of 5 new full-time jobs to get the full 35.
Thank you.
You're welcome. For the housing study grant, that is the grant that we received up to $50,000 for the housing study. We're currently in the process of creating an RFP to send out so we can start getting bids on that project.
And maybe we should just talk about how little defined we're gonna be with that. We met with one of the consultants that actually showed an interest when we received this bid, and we talked about how we'd like to focus more in our outlining areas with tiny homes, modular homes, mobile homes, to take a look at not so much our inventory, because we're kind of aware of that. We've been studying that for a long time. But in these rural areas, what would it take to get us there? How far are we away from infrastructure? Where do we see that best opportunity for that land to develop that next modular home park or tiny home park? Or how do we work with different communities that want to attract those types of housing? We feel it's a unique type of housing, and we can get a lot of activity out of that. So we're excited to try that.
Estimated time of completion, I know we haven't did it yet, but.
It's gonna take a year, but it's gonna take, they'll come and, whoever is successful with winning it will have to do interaction with some of those communities. We don't really look a lot at Route 20, but I think that might be a good opportunity for some of this modular and mobile home parks down in that area. They do have some water infrastructure in place, electricity. A lot of, those type of homes can utilize, when we get closer down south of our county, there's not a lot of natural gas, so propane could be used. And even in some of these areas here, we know our Schuyler Business Park, from a study we did, has roughly about 800 mobile homes within a 2 to 3 mile radius of that park. So we see that as great opportunity for the amount of people we have coming in. The next generation doesn't really want all those responsibilities. If they could live in a nice new place and have somebody mow their lawn and go play on the weekends, that's what they want to do. So why shouldn't we be attracting them to this area? Plus, the way that this new, or the chip fab and the way that's growing in our state, people would even drive here an hour to live in a home, because one, the cost will be low, and two is when they live in Denver or the Carolinas and they commute to work, they go 15 miles in an hour and a half. Here they can do 60 in an hour. So we see a lot of benefits to this study.
Any more, Jim? Also,
That was it.
all right, very good, thank you. Item number 9 are our board evaluations summaries. Everyone has completed them. You see there was,
Is there a way to expand that out? We're missing some of it.
Well, I can scroll down.
Oh, okay. So, like, if you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th one down, and then the fourth one up from the bottom, those are where, under somewhat agreed, we are. And as I said, from when I started here, we always want to constantly improve ourselves. And this is a good evaluation form, except for there's no, feedback per se. It's a number. So, when you look at the first one, the decisions made by the board members are arrived to independent judgment and deliberation, free of political influence or self-interest. They somewhat agree. 3 individuals, so that's almost half of our board. So how do we make that better? What do we do? And I'm not looking for an answer today, or if somebody wants to comment it now, it's okay. I mean, it's just that we want to improve. So if there's ways that we can improve, and you can email us in or feel free to speak to, but it's important that we improve, because that's the only way. That's a stupid thing. Yeah, we don't create this. So we can't change the wording of it to say something different. It's what the ABO looks to.
could we add a line in the comments, just a comment box? in
Of
there?
course we can, it's supposed to be anonymous. There's 7 of you. So one of you, 3 out of 7 of you pick this one. So, but we should have open dialogue too. Don't leave at any time. We'd like to know more about that influence. And then the other one too is individual board members feel empowered to delay votes, defer agenda items, or table action and feel additional information or discussion is required. You know, in some cases I can understand, you know, a lot of times either through our attorneys or something, we're given something and we have X amount of days to do it. And of course, we'd like to delay it too. But if there's other things that you have in mind for those, we want to know that too. The only, you know, we can delay almost everything. I think, and I think Tony's on too, unless there's a situation for that individual company, let's say a bank that's under a deadline or tax deadline. There's some unique situations, but in a lot of times we can just tell them, hey, look, this isn't going to happen. Or we hold a special meeting a few days later if there's more data needed. But anything open dialogue like that can only help us. It really can. You know, and I've talked to our attorneys and other people about trying to get that agenda out sooner. And the thing is, a lot of it we don't see because the attorneys are dealing with the end client, and the end client will say, oh, I have till this date. And they'll say, no, you have to this date, but then it still comes in after. Then we thought about, what if we sent you the agenda once a week? We were talking about this, and I'm thinking, I wouldn't want it. And then we keep updating it every week. I think that might not confuse you because you're all smart, but just kind of like, oh, what is this again? And what am I looking at new? So I'm not really sure what to do, but we'll take any input. One thing that we did change is like on the agenda today, if there's something that's newer, we're going to highlight it. So it'll be a darker black, so you can see, hey, this is a new item on here. We talked about having it, but here's truly what it is. So those are some of the things we're trying to do. Those are where we saw the two biggest issues. But once again, we'll take any feedback you want, you know, and just let us know, or several of you want to sit down and go over it, or however you want to move ahead with it. But we're truly interested in trying to get out the best product that we can.
Anything else? We need to accept the full board evaluation. Motion, please. And second by Lance, discussion. Okay, right. All right, opposed, name carries. Item 10, green energy manufacturer detail.
Yeah, so, and we can probably talk about the three next UTEPs, if that's okay, Jared, 10, 11, and 12. So, January is always the funnest month with the state of New York, with the Economic Development Council, and all these meetings that we have about things we should really look at to promote this upcoming year that ties in with what the governor's thoughts are and the federal government and what we believe we can do some different things in the area. So we want to take a look at a green energy manufacturer UTEP. So like a solar panel manufacturer, a company like a machine shop that's making parts for turbine, you know, windmills, anything along those lines where we can give them better pilot benefits. So that would include anybody involved with, as I mentioned, manufacturers of the solar, would also include their chip supplier chain. That would be somebody involved with anything to do with anything with Micron or Global Foundries, those type of companies that are starting to come into the area, say a gas supplier, a special packaging supplier, and then the housing. We really need to do a better dive into housing and what we can do. We're seeing select counties around us start to come up with these pilots, and in the past, the state hasn't been too fond of that. And now the governor is really on board with this, and they're allowing us to set up these different UTEPs because it's been difficult. How do I give a housing complex that's building $250,000 homes property tax incentives? But they're coming up with ways to do it. I think that's quite unique. You buy a home in this complex, you get a break on your taxes. It's different, but everybody's concerned about the lack of housing. So we're hoping to either next meeting or the meeting after have some different policies that you can all review before our next meeting and before the meeting after that. It might be the meeting after that where we can get out, view the policies, and we can take a look at it and give you some comparisons on what everybody else is doing. Not that we have to follow suit in every case, but I think it's important that we do offer something. I don't think we'll ever see a chip fab move into Herkimer County. I don't think we have those resources, but I'm pretty sure we can get suppliers to that resources.
Does any questions?
If you don't think it's the right way to take a look at some things, I'd like to know that too. And if there's certain industries that you don't think we should invest or really, you don't feel, I mean, you're all out there too. If there's something you're saying, geez, Jen, we've been looking at this as a company and, we don't think that they should get a benefit to it, or we think that that's just a standard manufacturer. I think you should speak up about that too, as we start turning these around. A lot of you are out there, and Corey especially, you're through a lot of different industries, not the housing so much, but the other ones, and where you'll see, Harry County is getting in a huge manufacturer of solar panels, and they're not giving them hardly any kind of benefits. What makes you think we need? Okay, good point, and it's not doing it.
What is the process for this though? Like we said, we would review policy.
Yeah, so it's like a pilot. Yeah, it's a pilot again. So instead of a 10-year standard pilot, we might give a green manufacturer a 20-year pilot. So we'd start out at some better benefits there. We can't really touch the mortgage reporting tax. We give them that and the tax exemption, but we can play around with that pilot. So that helps attract those businesses here because they look at when they go for investment, they say, okay, my taxes are at this level every year, so it gives them a better baseline to work with the financial institute. So
is it just the board voting though, or do you guys have to?
we'll have a public hearing depending upon on that as well for the UTEP. We can combine all of them. Yeah, so I'm not sure if we need to have a public hearing or not. I think the public hearing would be covered when we do a actual application for someone, but I'm looking into that now as well. But I don't have a problem ever holding a public hearing because we like the input. Unfortunately, but we truly do like the input. But I think housing is going to be there. That's going to be a good one too on how do we do this. If it ties in with our housing study and we see that and we say, you're going to open up a modular home park and you're going to have 30 units, you're going to get this benefit. And I think that would open up some of these areas to have that. 50 years ago, I was thinking about this the other day. We went to Coroga Lake or something over the weekend. When I was a kid, we used to go there for Remington Arms. And my father would dwell on that drive for a month. And it would be like the end of the world to drive to Coroga Lake. And now you go back and forth and, you can have 10 cocktails and still drive home. It's amazing. No, the Ferris wheel is still there. Is the
Yeah,
Jen knows
both
that.
are still there.
Yeah. I'm a thousand, you mentioned. Parks or not, they're much smaller. It's a landlord feel or not, you're obviously, if I were on the park, with park on this. What if it's a housing development, like, for instance, Clayton Farms is putting a 36 unit park or development in Skyline. Each individual homeowner gets a break? Or they would be excluded from it?
No, I believe they do. That's what we're digging into now.
So each would be.
Yeah, so if you went and built in this area, you're gonna get a property tax break. And what's still beneficial to the community, because right now it's vacant land that they're making X amount. And now when you build on there and that cost that goes out, you're making this amount.
But would you get pushback from an individual who builds in the country and says, why are?
Because we get pushback on everything. I understand that.
Okay, that's something to be expected, so. Okay.
It would be it wouldn't be an individual home like by yourself. This is a complex that they're putting the infrastructure in, they're devising it all. They're gonna get an incentive themselves, plus to market that to bring that up. Because we're behind, almost 1 million homes. The key is that single level, and that's what's attractive to modular and mobile and tiny homes mostly, is that single level, and we have an aging population that has nowhere to go. And so a young couple that wants to buy a home and redo it, and there's nothing for them to buy. We have to start thinking about that too, if we want to, or not. We'll get all the data together and it's a board decision. You can say, yeah, this looks good, or boy, can we tweak this, and we'll deal with everybody and figure it out. What's good is that we're having a conference coming up in February, which any one of you can sign up for too. We cover that cost if you want to go to Albany. And there is things on housing in that as well, because the state looking towards economic development now to figure out the housing issue. Yeah, but it's good that we talk about this a little bit ahead of time. I never gave it a thought about why would we give any manufacturer something different than the other. But because of all of the incentives from the state, we're able to build these products here, reshore solar and wind and hydro and everything else to get power going here. It makes good, things for us to take a look at, a good decision for us to do so. But we'll be putting everything together for everyone. Thank you.
Item 13, local gas, ABK, LLC, pages 16 through 21, there's an authorizing resolution in there. The legal mumbo jumbo we need to look over. Tony, do you want to, Tony,
You might be on mute. There you go.
I just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So just bringing everybody up to speed because local gas is, I hate to use the word languish. They're just kind of dragging a little bit on where they need to get to. We've got them teed up before the Schuyler Planning Board on February 10th for public hearing and hopefully final approval. One thing about the Schuyler ordinance is that's really not final approval. It then goes to the town board. We've got them teed up for February 14th for the board to put the blessing on that. And subject to us resolving an easement location area, and that is pretty much ready to close. So in speaking with their counsel, not with Mr. Stucci, but their counsel, we want this teed up to try to get this ready to close by the end of the month. And get documents out. And selfishly, part of this is motivated by the fact I want documents out and draft this week before I go away. So this will be ready to close in the next 4 weeks. So that's why the resolution's in front of you right now.
questions for our attorney? I need a motion to, Ben, second by Tim, discussion.
I just noticed in the resolution, that there's construction manufacturing facility. Maybe the language is.
The
universal.
cut and paste, failed to cut and paste properly. Where are you on that end? Yeah. So Tony, on page R17, your second page, so we'll, if you don't mind voting on that, and we'll make the change.
All in favor, aye? No, it's not. Any opposed? And one abstention. Thank you. Item 14, the Newport School, we ratified this, the project, page 2 to 26 and a half,
So once we're assisting the community of Newport, we did a phase 1 environmental and asbestos study on that. To have them disposed, there's, as we sent out to everybody already, and it was voted on, we're just ratifying this to help them with the removal of the old school in Newport. What's unique about this school, there is no name on the school. Most schools, they name after somebody. The Newport School has no name. So I recommended we put their name on it just before we can.
just in case it's a Jeopardy question, who they're supposed to do.
They're working out now on a redevelopment plan. We're thinking that the concrete underneath from all of our tests already looks fairly stable. So a lot of things could actually be put on that base. There was no basement, so it's on a nice concrete slab. So there's some good opportunity there.
We're thinking park, right?
Well, more like a part, but like farmers market, different things for the community on there. Maybe it's a pickleball. That's a big buzzword now. So.
All right, need a motion to ratify that. Motion by Ann, second by Alana, discussion. All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay? Carried. Item 15, the great gas fee evaluation, pages 27 and 29, from risk strategies.
So I'm gonna have Victoria answer this one. I can't remember what we did with this.
They do the valuation every year. So every other year they do a full valuation. On the second year, they do what's called a rollover, so they just use the prior year's information to do a new evaluation for that year. So this year, they're proposing the $2,500 fee for the full valuation from last year's numbers.
The same company we used
It
last year.
is, yeah.
It's hard to find anybody that gets back to you.
Mm.
That's the most amazing thing.
They don't have the staff.
Well, they don't even return saying they're not gonna get back to you.
Yeah, I know.
The motion. Motion, second, line of discussion. All in favor, aye. All opposed, nay. Item 16 is Genesis Group on page 30. We usually sponsor Genesis. I think last year we sponsored them with $5,000 contribution, and I think they're asking for the same thing this year. That's the group that goes out and talks about the good of the organizations that will deal with in the two counties and place.
If you get their newsletter, if you don't get their newsletter, please let us know, let Erin know, and she'll make sure you get signed up for it. But if any of you read the one that they did this week, they did a beautiful write up on Mr. Jim Bono, and right there alone, I believe it's worth $5,000.
I think it's perfect.
Did we pay for it?
Yeah, it's, well, we paid for it in future revenues coming to them. But they do have an economic development one coming up too, which I'll be at in February. We'll let you all know. But we just attended one on legislative breakfast, very well, from congressman down to mayor. They did a really good job with that. Our new county chairman was there. He spoke very well about Holland. Everybody did miss Jimmy, though. They all came up to me and said, "We'll miss Jimmy." I said, "He's right there."
Jim is our new ambassador, really would help it tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and
Those who
that's
don't know,
what he
I
does.
stepped down at 4th of February. I'll be stepping down to the legislature and taking the role in the town. So, community development director, and looking forward to that. And doing, like Jen said, promoting the town. That's going to be my main focus, and advertising, going to events, and all that good stuff. And being the best. Just being a
What does that have to do with it?
well, just down right anyway.
We're all very proud of Mr. Bono. Very, just gonna miss him as a ledge though, and I think a lot of people are too.
All right. Back to business. We need a motion to accept it. And second, John, discussion. In favor, aye. Any opposed, nay. Item 17, Manheim Business Park, water tank, we need to ratify that, proposal by White.
Yeah, before we do though, we are making a slight change. We're asking to change the dollar amount from 97 to 120, not to exceed 125. What we're looking at is just to make sure that we have any expenses that would be needed, travel, because it's been so long and we have grants with this, we feel as though there's gonna be a lot more involvement with the people from Department of Health and EFC on all the money that we receive, and ESD, because we have 800,000 coming from them. This isn't simply just putting up a tank and running some pipe. There's a lot going on with this project, so we just want to make sure we're covered. We did vote on the 97, but we're asking to change that to 125.
So their invoice is still 97.7, but we're just.
No, their
looking for
invoice
up
is-
to-
Is that the new one?
They sent us some information late yesterday, sorry.
99,
They asked 99.5.
99.5, and we decided
But
that
we have a
because
contingency where. it's kind of building
Yeah.
there.
I'm not concerned. I am concerned because we have data from a previous engineering firm that has been proven not to be reliable. And so my biggest fear is gonna be when we get to this one point for evaluation, the data is gonna have to be all redone, and I wanna make sure we're covered with that. But that's okay.
So what they changed from 97 to 125, I need a motion for each. That's right. Yeah, second, line of discussion, all in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay. Item 18, Skyler Business Park National Grid easement. 43 to 45 in the packet. We discussed, that's just a temporary easement that we just discussed.
Yeah, we have to move the poles. This has been going on, this just to let you know, it's been about a year with National Grid and trying to get these poles moved. And, the return has been awful. Believe it or not, this morning is the first time we got anybody to reply from us, upper management. I had to reach out to some of our economic development contacts to push this along. But we need to, because it's going through our park in certain area, we needed to get an easement, give an easement to National Grid to move the pole. And myself and Victoria had to go to the neighbor and have him sign off on an easement. Well, one of the most unique things he said to me, he's definitely someone that came into the country and a beautiful home and everything there. He goes, well, how much is this gonna cost me? And I was, you know, he was ready to help support us. I said, oh, nothing at all. Remember how good, nice he was? So, I mean, people want to see this development there in this park. So, we just need for you all to vote on the easement that it's okay. But who knows when it'll come down? If we all have a bad car and we want to drive it to these 3 poles.
So when are they moving?
When?
I mean, so this is the, yeah,
Not us with the easement. National Grid.
'cause usually they'll get a grant for.
Oh, it's no cost to us.
Yeah.
And the thing is we had to cut down trees, which we cut down in June. They came out and marked the poles, but then they turned it over to a consultant. Then it came back and no one will move it along and here they still sit.
I think they've had some turnover locally, from what I understand.
It's not the same.
Yeah,
Bag and all that we used to know, many years ago.
from what I've heard, and just other feedback too. As far as projects, I think there's been some change.
It's stopping our redevelopment of our entrance. It's causing some issues with the convenience that I started mentioning, trying to get these on there so that they can get going on that project. It's amazing how much, and then I don't want to have to threaten them every time it's in vote of the Public Service Commission, which we could have 6 months ago. To move 3 poles.
I think they're very tidy when they do projects.
Well, that's what we got.
Okay, motion to, go ahead with that. Cory, second. Discussion. On favor, aye. Carried. Item 19, empty temper.
We're gonna move that to executive session if that's okay.
Item 20, engage to administer the LDC.
We're putting together that agreement now. That'll happen at our next meeting.
Item 21, ELG used alloys. I believe we're ready to close on that final authorizing resolution here.
Yep, Mr. Halleck is up next.
Gotta find my cursor, John, I apologize. We're on ELG,
Yes.
okay, so this company is like a car with a bad carburetor. They start and they stop and they start and they stop. They finally turned the file over to a young associate locally. And all of a sudden, all the paperwork is done. We've exchanged drafts. And this thing is, but for 1 or 2 more proofs, ready to close. So you have in front of you both an amended application. There was a change in the job estimation. We've asked that be done by letter, and an authorizing resolution, so we could try to close this next week.
So things that people know about ELG is, one, they're selling a building in Frankfurt, moving all their operations to East Herkimer. 2 is that they have 34, roughly 34 acres to develop, possibly not just for them, but for another opportunity. So those are 2 things that are very important for continued growth as well.
When the building you're in is going to.
They're taking over across, so it's the old MDS facility. They've been in the building, one building. They're taking over across the street from where they are now. Demolition of some of it, but reconstruction of some of it as well.
Do they have any new interest in the old building?
Yeah, that's what they're moving into, part of it, at MDS. Oh, the one in Frankfurt? The problem has been, they couldn't give a date on when they'll get out. So we've had several that wanna take it, and then when it comes to when can we have it, we don't know. Yeah, so this moves them ahead anyway.
But it's a fine building. I mean, it's
Yeah.
sought after by a lot. of people,
The-
And this size and little location.
Yeah.
So shouldn't be a problem too.
It's a little tight around it, but there is room for probably a 10 to 15,000 foot expansion if we needed to. Also, you could do some additional parking in the back as well. But the muni power, dual high speed fiber, low cost village taxes are really an attraction. We don't see that as an issue, but the problem is people have been, okay, when can we take it? We got it now, they say, no, you can't, so.
That was the original shell blade.
Right. Chuck Schumer, loved it.
That'll speed up now and then we'll process what's over here.
Yeah, that'll be a new project for us. Yeah.
Okay, we need a motion to authorize that. Mike, second by Alana, discussion. All in favor, aye. Any opposed, nay. Now go to, that concludes the regular agenda. We're going to executive session in a little bit here, but, comments by elected officials, Bill Weekly and Mark Burley, the legislators, any comments?
No, nothing from here from Bill Weekly. Thanks for letting me join the meeting.
I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Another number, is that one of the, is the Assemblywoman or Assemblyman? 2840 number. No comment, okay. Jim Wallace, our county administrator, you'd like to say anything? Or-
All set, Jim. Thank you.
All right, thanks. See you in a bit. Okay, let's go to, project update before we go into executive session.
Sure. So the first one, so I'm not gonna go in any order on certain order in here, but I have some ones I'm adding to, and we'll start with the dual pole project. I know that the developer has met with the county about some possibilities there. We've also brought in a small manufacturer, some other office space, leases. They were talking yesterday with environmental consultants and to see what the cost would be there. They've also started the application to the brown cleanup program. We're hoping to, within the next 2 to 3 months, really see, like, I'm not gonna say a ribbon cutting, but some shovels starting in the ground and stabilization back up. So we have other opportunities there, but I'm gonna really, to be honest, hold off a little bit till we actually see that stabilization start taking effect. Any questions on doable? There's opportunities from other grants that we're gonna apply for as well. Commercial insurance, we reached out, did our look around, found that the existing supplier is still great with that. So we stayed with them, and we're also looking at cybersecurity, and we have a cyber insurance, and we're looking at that after this meeting. We received a card from B. Clappin. All of you who can remember last year, Phil Clappin was an excellent resource and excellent person for us at EPA, passed away on a trip over to Ireland. And we sent the family something, and she replied with the card. This year at our Brownfield event, which will be up in April, where it's going to be at Each Triple C again. We're not the host in bed, but then at night the reception will be at the 5 Points Irish Cultural Building in Utica. So everybody will be knowing about that, and they register everybody for that. But that should be an excellent event. And this year we're going to honor somebody in Phil Clappen's name. We're gonna have another Herkimer County IDA shirt order. Golf season's coming up. Anybody looking for some golf shirts or anything, we just like to let you know that. Just so everybody knows, you pay for your own. Same thing with us too. We don't use any money out of the funds for that. The EDC conference is the 13th and 14th of this year, February. I will be speaking at it on site development. I think it's kind of funny. It's Rochester, Buffalo, Albany, and Herkimer. I don't know how, but I think I welcome the opportunity. It's because we received the Fast New York, and I think it's a good chance to get up there and talk. And there'll be developers there too, which is great. So maybe we can attract some.
Which day are you on?
Pardon?
Oh, okay. It's on the 13th and the 14th. Right? So which
Yeah,
day are you on?
The 13th. at like
Well, the
10
first day
something
you're
in
on?
the morning.
Okay.
And we can set up your registration if anybody would like to attend that. It's in Albany. When I first started, Jimmy and myself went, even before I started. That's a good conference. It's not just that presentation, but there's several other ones there. And the staff will be going to that as well. Just because they got 13. Today is our first training with Daniele Partners. It's my strengths in the team. Starting today at 1, all are welcome. Chamber of Commerce Legislative Breakfast is coming up on February 23rd. The sheriff will have comments from Elise Stefanik, Schumer, Smolin, Miller. Can't think if there's anybody, and I'll be emceeing that event again. We talked about the Little Falls Brownfield visit, the Hanson Bridge issue in Little Falls that goes over to Salada. At the suggestion of a friend, I reached out to Tioga Construction, got to talk with them. They've worked on the bridge in the past. The city engineer's out for medical leave for I think another week and a half. We're going to set up a meeting with Tioga and have them help support that bridge, at least so we can get car and like box truck traffic over it. Probably never 18-wheelers, but tying this property in with the one brownfield we visited last week, a couple economic developers. Brownfield developers feel that'd be a very strong project, and we'd love to help assist with that. In February 27th, the evening of our next meeting, we are hosting or assisting one of the hosts for a Beacon event. That's Brownfields of New England. And it's going to be in Syracuse. It's a networking event at 5 o'clock. I'm going to be attending. So if anyone wants to go, I'm happy to have you along with me. Those are usually great networking for our Brownfield. No, that's okay. Jimmy, give him the jar. That's $20.
Minus 10 points.
Yeah.
No.
What I think it's better, he doesn't know how to do that. Okay, so everybody knows Tim had a call. We have to do a harassment training here in 2024, cover a lot of topics. It's roughly an hour. We can either do it, say, during a lunchtime someday or after our next meeting. We'll be sending out a little thing, notice after this meeting, and you let us know your thoughts. We're only going to hold one. You have to take it. It's a state requirement. I'm thinking right after our next meeting might work out the best. So if everybody could stay in line. Times are changing. We need to be aware of what other people are thinking. Harassment can be as little as something and quite large. So we really need to take a look at this and be very supportive of our staff and our fellow board members.
Are you doing that through the,
Yeah.
the one that you talked
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, what are the actual?
Too many missions, but they're very good. We've had conversations with them about several things. We are looking at project management software. I don't know if you all are aware, we probably have about 98 projects. And we want to make sure that we're really truly covering all the bases, and also too, we'll make it so there's a portal so the board members can sign in and get into it and take a look at it so you can all, but if anybody has a project management software that you're familiar with and want to share it with us, Corey or Victoria's looked at a couple. We talked to Goldmine about what we're doing. The gentleman who talked to us about it is a little bit goes overboard a little bit. We don't really need those direct connections in there. So, but we hope to have something, and plus at our conference that we're at in 2 weeks, we'll be talking to other IDAs about it. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. We want to make sure that we have.
Be nice if there was something that kind of. It already contains a lot of the.
It does.
Of some.
Yeah, it would be nice. We can look into that. I'm thinking MRV, they probably would know somebody too. That's who we buy our cost benefit analysis software from, and they're in tune to municipalities and IDAs and LDCs. We're doing the work now. We received the work plan on the countywide BOA. I think this is amazing. So the Village of Herkimer, we're working with them on their BOA, and it's been over a year since we submitted everything and waiting for the final contract. Here we won the award in December, and we've already received our work plan for the countywide BOA. I can't figure, and we get emails every other week from the Department of State saying apply for these things, but they can't keep up. So it's quite unique, but we're doing that now. We're in the, I just reviewed the work plans. We have a couple things we need to change, and I'll work with, Jen and AV on that one, because we want to keep that moving, as well as the RFP for the housing study as well.
What's the scope of the work plan? Is it just mapped out certain areas?
Not
or-
necessarily mapped out. It really talks about the county and what we need, and for how many potentials we see out there now, but that can be expanded as well. The map is the county, so that's beautiful too. So considering in other work plans, we've always had the map, like in Dolgeville, we had it like this to start, and then we moved it like that. Here we know it's the county. So our plan is to really tie into some of the areas where we see economic brownfield development opportunities. Then also work with the land bank, because the county is forming a land bank, and see how we can best help them as well with this. And tie it into our EPA funds, because we've only spent nothing. I mean, we still have 450,000 left there. In order to go after another one, I have to spend that down. So we want to work in conjunction with that as well to get some of these areas going. So when we talk about Ames, I'll explain over there. Some of these other ones, we can do some phase one environmentals on, and just to help move it along on Main Street, and we can talk about some of those properties too. But it's quite, this is the first county one they've given, so, you know, this is pretty neat. They're looking at us to see how we do. So I kind of think that's why we're moving ahead with it quicker. So the resources are going to be unique. Who do we utilize for the planning grant side of this? Because you're not just looking at a Main Street or a certain area, we're looking at county-wide. So who as a planner is going to say, okay, the gas station in the town of Ohio, how do we tie the planning into that with what we're doing in, you know, West Winfield? And we have to look at it. We did when we did, well, we created the plan on what we wanted to do, and the state kind of takes that and puts it into the work plan, and then we adjust where we feel we need to. So that's what I've been working on. And if that's not enough, but I think it is. I think we're good. So
We're gonna go into executive session then.
So please let us know if you want to sign up to go to Albany. It's, you guys have been to the one where, when you went to Albany, it was more like, or when you went to Utica, that was more like the training for your class and all of that.
Like the AV.
Yeah, this is more of experience from different groups. It's pretty unique, and it really isn't a bad thing to do. If you wanted to stay over too, we would cover those costs as well. I'm going actually, I'm going Monday night and Tuesday night. I'll be back Wednesday. One thing I did forget is, we have a meeting in front of the town of Schuyler on February 14th at 6 o'clock about our Four Corners Business Park. And we are getting some pushback over there. Not bad pushback. The residents don't understand that we're changing from commercial to PD to plan development, and we're combining the properties. That's all we're looking to do at this point. But they feel as though they want this to be continued farmland, where the two owners do not want this to be farmland. They want to sell this for development. And we did not approach them. They approached us, just so everybody realizes that. But I would like it if you're there for that. Plus, we have other topics on the agenda, so any board members can make, and it won't be confrontational. It'll be more discussion and making them aware of what it truly is. There's a Facebook page out there from a group that's opposed to this. It's really funny. They have a picture of a farm and it looks really nice, so it's not his property. So everybody always tries to skirt the truth. And we wanted to let them know, and we gave prime examples on why this is what we do.
What's the date again on that?
February 14th, Valentine's Day. How of a better day than to spend it with you?
So it's when Bill's resolution.
6 o'clock.
Nothing says love like attending my time.
On February.
Take your spouse.
And one of, and there's a good chance I'm gonna have to scoot to the county meeting at 7.
Yeah, this group is, are related to group.
No, just residents who think that this isn't a commercial area on Route 5. I'm having a time understanding that. No, the town board's in favor, the planning board was in favor. Never in Tony's history has he ever seen a planning board, and we had one member and one alternate, which I'm not really sure how that works. Me and Jimmy always question how they can have an alternate there. Voted no for the seeker.
They have to vote on it?
Yeah, they have to vote on a seeker. They have to have a public hearing and then they vote. But no one ever votes no on a seeker. It's the data. You're voting no on the data. I just can't get
They
my. arm-
voted no to refuse to close seeker. It was the most
Oh, yeah, they
incredible,
refused. How
I've
does
never
that?
seen it in 32 years.
I don't understand. They voted
So
no.
close, yeah, they didn't want to close it. They wanted to keep on. Yeah, but you can't. It's what has to happen. So when we go to buy property, we send to all the different agencies on if there's any problem with this property. And so they'll reply back. Most of them don't even reply back because they have 30 days. So they just said, no, we don't want to close this. We don't think we want to go ahead. We want this to be fun.
So closing the secret would just allow for it to progress, and they didn't want to close the secret,
Yeah.
not because there was issues.
No issues whatsoever.
Or they wanted additional due
No,
diligence.
they don't understand
They want-
anything. Yeah.
That whole thing with the alternate was, you could have somebody else sit in the seat that may be opposed to it. If the original board member may be in favor of it, that night that board member can't make the meeting, they put an alternate in there, and then alternate votes on it, and then subsequently there may be more decisions to be made, and then the original comes back, so it's not, there's no continuity in that, I guess.
So-
Anyway.
So this is the town board meeting, not the planning board meeting. It's the town board.
Right.
So they have a unique situation too. The planning board votes on it, then the town votes on it. So we'll see what happens.
It's happening.
Is there any update on Bergen's one?
That's just not gonna be that. In all honesty, I met with him and the town supervisor, and he said he got a better deal. And he's trying to push away the realtor and do his own thing. And I said, that's great. I said, if it falls through, you know what my offer is. So now,
Last time we were looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so somebody
There
is,
is, there is nobody.
No, that's.
yeah, it doesn't matter.
I wasn't sure that was on.
All right, anything else that anyone else to discuss with the organization? Let's, make a motion to go into executive session to talk about, land acquisition or property acquisition and, council. Yep,
How much of it?
and second by Lana. Any discussion?
So just
All in favor, aye? Aye.
leave Shannon and.
Let's do Bill.
No, you gotta stop that. Tim wanted to ask one question.
Discussion.
Oh, well.
Okay, we're in.